live from Wexford in Ireland. This evening I'm in quarantine with Ronan Furlong. Pleased to meet you. How are you?
You too. Thanks very much for having me on your show and for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. You've been on my radar for some time now.
Oh, thank you.
You know, people don't know you. You're a singer-songwriter. You dabble in guitar. I say that very loosely. You obviously don't dabble. You're brilliant on guitar.
Well, thank you.
I want to start off by asking you, what is your name? Because I know you as Ronan, and I know you as Peter. So
Ronan is Ronan. Ronan. So I was christened Peter Ronan Furlong,
okay.
and it's like a family tradition. It's kind of somewhat unhelpful because it's a bit confusing. Although it's great when you want to keep a low profile, because everyone's looking for this dodgy Peter. But no, I'm Ronan is what I go by. It's my dad's name. And I have a son called Ronan as well. So, and it's actually my grandmother's maiden name. She was May Ronan, so that's kind of where the family tradition started. So it's nice to keep that going. So yeah, no, Ronan is the name.
You are Ronan. Now, I want to ask you what your influences are, because you know I've listened to your music, and your last album, your latest release, which we'll go into in more detail shortly, and I can definitely hear Neil Young when I hear your voice.
Yes.
Not just the voice, but the sort of style. There's something there that just reminds me of Neil Young. So, would you say he's one of your influences?
He'd be a minor influence. He wouldn't be a huge influence for me, although I have huge respect for him. Particularly the song "The Needle" and "The Damage Done." I like "Old Man" as well. It's another great song. And actually, I love Southern Man's brilliant rock song. Actually, it's a brilliant rock song. So I have an awful lot of time for Neil Young, and he's obviously a huge, huge performer, and has been a huge influence. But I'd be much more. I suppose how would I say this? I'd have my roots more so in rock, to be honest with you. And in terms of on the folk kind of stuff, it'd be very much Richard Thompson. And that kind of, so less American influence, I suppose. And some of the folky stuff that Rory Gallagher did would be a big influence on me. So I'm a fan of Neil and I like him, but he wouldn't be a huge, he's a big influencer on one of the producers I work with, a gent called Mick Egan. And he's actually in the Neil Young tribute band. So maybe that influence is coming through there.
Like Neil Young quality, in your sound. So I did wonder about that. But for people that don't know you, I'm going to give a little description here of you. So Irish singer-songwriter Ronan Furlong displays an approach to songwriting that is refreshingly unique and instantly recognisable, weaving a beguiling tapestry, how lovely words, beguiling tapestry of intricate guitar work, I would definitely agree with that, idiosyncratic lyrics and heartfelt vocals. Ronan's songs are strikingly original, exploring a broad range of philosophical themes. Goodness, you got my tongue in a twist there. In a fresh and contemporary fashion. So tell me, what do you write your songs about?
Well, normally the way I would go about it would be the music would always come first.
Yeah.
And when I have a musical idea that I like, I'll then decide if I want to make it an instrumental, like a song such as The Silver Torque, which you might be familiar with, or for example, I decide if I think it'll work well in a song context, then I will come up with lyrics for it. And what I do is I have I suppose I read quite a bit, to be honest, and so when I have ideas that I want to write about, if you know what I mean, and sometimes it might be exploring a character. And a character's experience, such as in the song "Hoplite Armor," where you're kind of putting yourself in the protagonist's shoes, and then so in other words, I have these ideas for songs, and when I come across what I think is a good song idea, I'll then marry the two, so the two come together quite quickly, strangely enough, or can do. And so that's one thing. And another thing I will do is I'll have certain themes that I'll want to write about, and when I come up with when I suppose I'm presented with a musical idea that I think suits the theme, then I'll go and explore that further and expand it, if you know what I mean. So I don't try just shoehorn an idea into a song. It has to fit, if you know what I mean, and feel right. And if it does, then I get very excited about it, and I tend to move it forward pretty quickly and even record it quite quickly, actually. while it's kind of still hot, if you know what I mean, while I'm enthusiastic
Well,
about it. It's
fresh in
always
your
the
mind.
best way.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, fresh in mind, but also while you're enthusiastic and you're not overthinking it, because I
Mm.
certainly find the best songs come not from your mind, if you know what I mean, they come from somewhere else. And the more, if you overthink it, then suddenly it's your brain trying to control or something, and you almost tame it or something. You know, it tends to take a step backwards. So it's, I think it's important to try grab it while it's hot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Switch your brain off for a little while the rest of you does the magic.
Yeah, well, yeah, and yeah, exactly. Just you really
Yeah.
get into it and go with it. And sometimes if I can't think of if I don't have a pre-cooked kind of idea that I'd like to explore, I will just play the song again and again and again until a lyric strikes me that I like. And they're often some of the more idiosyncratic ones, as that review or whatever you read was. And they're the ones, and sometimes that'll spark something, and you just follow that wherever it goes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But so it's a mixture of kind of having certain themes I want to write about, and also having kind of almost character ideas. So like the song Persian Sun is one of my songs, and I'd read a lot about Alexander the Great, and you know, his various travels throughout Persia and Egypt, and then on into Afghanistan and India. And I felt very sorry for his soldiers. The more I read about him, and he used to spend their lives as he went along, and he kept telling them, "Oh, we'll go back. There's one more kind of battle," and on it used to go. And you know, he was kind of using them, and so I wrote that song from the perspective of maybe a disillusioned member of you know, of his soldiery, when the penny drops in terms of, you know, he's never going to stop, and will I ever make it home? And do you know what I mean? So it kind of, you, by placing yourself in the mind of that character, you can hopefully do something interesting for the listener and take it places, and you know what I mean, and explore what was he feeling and what was he thinking about his comrades and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's really quite deep. You know, your music is quite. I mean, when it's described as unique and original, it really is. You know, it's quite different to the kind of music that's created en masse, shall we say. Yours is really very individual to you. Like you
Yeah.
say, what you've been reading and the ideas you happen to come up with and want to develop into songs for yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about some of your albums. So, is it 2 albums you've got now? I know you have some EPs as well.
Yes, and there's actually there's another 2 in the works. To be honest with you, there's one called The King of Leaves, which we're going to be releasing in October, which I'm quite excited about. And actually, there's a very strong rock element to that. So I think you'll like that when if hopefully you get to hear it. So that's got a very strong rock element. But anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So yeah, there's 2 out there at the moment, if you know what I mean. And there's one in the works.
Your last album, Minerva's Meddling. So that was described as one of the most interesting and diverse albums of the last 20 years. That's a pretty good description.
Nice.
I mean, of course I've listened to this album, and it's an incredible album. But the song you've just released, so your latest single, Came to My Attention, is very different, in a very different direction to what I've heard from you previously. So this has got a real rock edge to it that I wasn't expecting. And of course I was pleasantly surprised, being a rock fan. Heard it. It's from, so this is from your forthcoming album, King of Leaves, as you mentioned, once due to be released in October. So tell me, is the rest of the album following in the same path as that first release, or is it going to have like a rockier sound than your previous releases, or was that just a one-off, that song?
No, it's very much there's going to be a lot of rock on this album, to be honest with you, because it was something. Very much my roots are in rock anyway, for a start, and I wanted to use a kind of a rock voice more. So you were mentioning Neil Young, which is kind of a more folksy voice, but I can kind of do a decent rock voice as well, or have a stab at it anyway. And
so that was something I wanted to. In that one.
No, exactly. Yeah, so I wanted to show a bit of diversity, to be honest with you, but also was what I was very keen to do that, to be honest with you. And also I would have so it's a mixture between kind of really heavy rock songs like that, but also there's some open tuning picking style songs, more in the kind of Richard Thompson almost, or Jimmy Page's picking, a song like Going to California, that kind of open tuning style that Jimmy used to use. I use quite a bit of that on it as well in the album. So it's a nice, and those open tunings work really well, I find, for rock songs. Obviously Jimmy did that better than nearly anybody in terms of the open tuning and rock. But that was something I wanted to explore, and I really enjoyed that, to be honest. So there's quite a bit of that, but it's diverse. So what I mean by that is there's also quite a bit of acoustic stuff as well, intricate acoustic picking stuff, but with vocals, if you know what I mean. And then there's one or two instrumentals. I always do like instrumentals, but I put them towards the end of the album as a kind of it's almost for myself. But I do like the instrumentals because you can really indulge yourself on those,
And a good example of one of your instrumentals is your last single, The Silver Talk, that you touched on briefly before. So this is a very interesting one. This track was chosen by Irish MMA fighter Richard Kiley as the signature walkout music when he fought in the arena in Dublin.
Yes, correct. Yes,
so that was sort of September 2019. And you were actually playing the song live as you walked out to an audience of 9,000 people? And
yes, 9,000
televised globally. So what was that? I've seen the video of you doing that. And what was it like to be there?
Oh, it was a fantastic privilege to be there because I'm a big MMA fan, to be honest with you. And so I was delighted Richard invited me to play. I was really delighted, in fact. And it was so that was fantastic, purely as a fan of MMA, but also to be backstage and meet a lot of the MMA stars, many of whom are British, actually. There was a lot of big names from MMA that were there. So I really enjoyed that, and even meeting some of the journalists and stuff. But in addition to that, though, the actual experience of playing was wonderful, because the fans were very, we'll say, enthusiastic. It was joint top billing, and so they were really, energized. By the time I came out, they were very, very, built up, we'll say. And so it was great fun, and I really liked it. And so it was a great experience all around. And I was honored that Richard invited me to do it. And he's got more fights ahead of him. So hopefully, when after lockdown, when he competes again, we might get to do it again sometime. So
did
it was
he win
a great
that
experience.
Fight?
No, unfortunately, he didn't. He was competing against a British fighter called Michael Venom Page, who is arguably the best in his weight class in the world and is a very talented individual. And on top of that, Richard he had quite a bad injury leading up to the fight, so he was kind of up against it. So he had a difficult bout, but you can't win them all,
Yeah, I was going to say you could be like a good luck charm for him, and he would take you all over the place, to play. So maybe not. I don't know.
No. Well, maybe not. Maybe he'll help me. So as a result, it didn't quite. Yeah, it was a very difficult bout for him to take on, though, against that opponent. He was very skilled, very, very skilled.
Okay. So another song I want to talk about, Hades Nebula. So this is taken from the Nebula EP that you released. Yes. So this song and video was a 2020 Grammy contender for the best music video and performance.
Yes, so I believe, yeah.
I mean, this video is quite something. People that haven't seen it, you've got to see this video. It's an animation following the sort of story. Well, why don't you tell the story, what it's about?
Well, I suppose it's about somebody who finds himself in quite a mundane situation and surrounded by mundanity, I suppose, and they engage in a bit of escapism, and that's what the video is about, and they have a great time doing it. And I think it's a bit of a flight of fancy. The song was a bit of a flight of fancy, and I can see what you're saying with the Neil Young on that vocal. It's quite a high-pitched vocal. I say it was as much John Anderson as Neil Young, truth be told. I think John's a wonderful singer, wonderful singer. So not saying I can sing like him, but I'm just trying to say that kind of style of singing. So I'm a big fan of Yes, and I suppose what I try to do is I do love prog music, love it, but I try to condense prog elements into a shorter format, if you know what I mean. And perhaps if I was as popular as Yes, which I amn't, or Rush, or or Genesis, I get away with longer songs. But as I'm not, I don't have that luxury, so I need to. You need to cram it in, you know what I mean, and make it work in a song format. So I'm quite proud of that song, actually, and I'm very happy how the video turned out, because it was a very nice experience. It was storyboarded by a friend of mine, Ben Hennessy. I had the idea, I wanted to do an animated video, and I asked Ben. He's a professional artist, so he storyboarded it for me, and then we got it made by a studio over in India, which was which was really nice, and they were really great guys to work with. Deep Park Pharma and his team. So that was just a great experience from start to finish, and it seemed to get quite well received, as you say. It got put in for some awards and things like that. So I was very happy with that, and I'm glad you like it too. The video,
it's
and
very
the song,
special video. It's the sort of video you'd remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of space. I like the space element to it. To be honest, I thought they got the animation of space really, really nice.
It's lovely, following the stars in the sky. Yeah, it's a very, very nice video. Very well done. So well done.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
So, given that you've got your album coming out in October, do you plan on touring? Obviously, the lockdown has thrown a few things up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a tour in the works?
But unfortunately, everything's on hold at the moment. I'd certainly love to get over to the UK. I've been fortunate enough to play there a couple of times in London previously, so I really enjoyed those experiences. So I'd love to go back and do that again. But I'd say everything's a bit on hold at the moment. But it's certainly something I'm very keen to do, because I do enjoy playing live. And what you'll see, I suppose, if you do ever see me live, it's very different sound to the record. So the record, I'm playing drums and bass and a lot of electric guitar. So obviously, when it's just me on my own, I can't replicate that. So what I try to do is, it's a very much kind of a stripped back thing, but I find it works quite well, because there's no effects pedals, there's no loops, there's no nothing. It's just me and the guitar and a lead. So everything you see or hear is me, if you know what I mean. And there's something I quite like authentic about that, or something. And you can explore different aspects to the song, and it can be more intimate in some respects. Some of the songs can breathe more in that setting. Like I really like the song called Mystic Mountain that I really like playing live. There's a new song on the new album called The Endless Caravan, and it's very guitar orientated and open tunings, but I really like playing that. And so, you can kind of really get into it, if you know what I mean. Because and I think it's nice for the audience too, because it's just you and a guitar. You've nowhere to hide. It's kind of a high wire thing, if you know what I mean. Not that I'm saying I'm the best and the best that's out there or anything. I'm just saying you have to be able to play and represent yourself and sing, and there's something honest about that, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. That's very true. And I do hope to see you, to catch you live, all being well, when you're on the road, when you come to the UK, let me know, and I shall come and see you.
Please God. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, it'd be great to meet you in person, and and see you at one of the shows. So that'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it's been absolutely lovely.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
No, you too, and thanks again. It's a really great honor to be interviewed, and thank you for the thoughtful questions. And I hope you enjoyed the chat, and hopefully we get to speak again someday.
I hope so. Great speaking to you, and hopefully see you soon.
This is rock and roll, ready out to my